feeling a little uninspired lately, I went to Twitter where I said the first 6 replies were what I was going to draw for the most recent art trend, #6fanarts. And holy cow, you guys were so quick to reply. It was so tempting to do some of the other entries, but I promised the first 6 people, so here we go. Let's get to drawing. Our first Twitter reply is by Wendigo with a combination of speed and probably luck. We are going to be drawing Stitch. To be honest, I actually just assumed that this was Stitch from Lilo and Stitch. I'm sure there are other characters in the world named Stitch, but this actually was tweeted during the whole Lilo and Stitch movie debacle that was going on Twitter. Don't know if you guys saw that one. I feel like every week there's some sort of opinion that makes people angry, and I gotta be real. Do I even say it? Lilo and Stitch don't like that movie. I'm just going to keep my personal opinions to a minimum in this video because, like I said, opinions offend other people. I could say I don't like an apple and someone who loves apples would be deeply offended. I'm just going to leave it at that. Take it how you will. Doesn't matter what I say, someone's going to be offended. So the whole idea of Lilo and Stitch having a child that isn't the most well-behaved, sometimes throwing tantrums, it's just not something that I want to subject myself to willingly for fun in my free time. Also, I find Stitch to be very ugly, and I know he's supposed to be sort of designed off of French Bulldog or Boston Terrier, some sort of squat-nosed dog with big ears, which I find those dogs very ugly, so I find Stitch very ugly. I think he's supposed to be that kind of ugly, cute sort of design, but I just don't find him cute. So that's all I'm going to say about Lilo and Stitch. I say as I finish drawing the drawing. I did have a lot of fun drawing my version of Stitch. I wasn't sure if I wanted to make him just completely ugly looking and project my dislike for him. I did end up giving him a unibrow, but overall his weird and awkward proportions were a lot of fun to exaggerate, and this is what I ended up with. Of course, adding a little bit of hair texture to his fluffiness. Let me know in the comments how deeply offended you are. Next up, by the request of King Righteous, we have Mr. Freeze. Mr. Freeze from the Batman animated series. So continuing the theme of me not liking things, and just a forewarning, I know I don't like a lot of things. I'm very dead inside, and I also just don't get excited about things. I'm very picky. I just don't really care for superhero comics. I just find them all very samey. And just in general, I don't care about the whole superhero shtick. And that's fine. I mean, you can enjoy it. Just because I don't like it doesn't mean you can't. Please just let me not like a thing. I beg of you guys. So that was my negative portion. Let's move on to the positive portion. Despite not liking this series and not caring about this character, I actually had a lot of fun drawing Mr. Freeze. He's a very simple character design, but when it comes down to it, he is a middle-aged man in spandex, so you know I had to focus on that booty. So I turned him around and got that booty sticking out nice. I guess really my focus was finding a way to enjoy drawing characters that I don't necessarily care about. Because I have been feeling so uninspired lately, I always feel like fan art gets me out of that block. As you guys have heard me talk about many times now, whenever I am feeling an art block coming on, I take a step back, just take a break from being really creative and try to do something silly and fun with my art, which usually means drawing Pokemon from memory. But with the recent art trend #6fanarts, I really wanted to see what you guys wanted me to draw. So when it comes to fan art, it makes me want to draw something original, and especially drawing things that I don't care about. I was hoping that this would boost me into wanting to draw something I cared about, but really, I just got really into drawing middle-aged butts. And there's Mr. Freeze. Next up, we are drawing Molly from Animal Crossing, and this is a request from Art with Apple, which, by the way, I discovered their art through this request. I would definitely suggest following them on Instagram and Twitter. So cute, so colorful. Okay, let's get to the art. So I think Molly is the only character in this video from a series that I actually like, but even so, Molly isn't necessarily a character that I really care about in the series. Molly, if you don't know, is a duck villager from the video game Animal Crossing, which is wildly popular right now. Super obsessed, definitely been spending way too much time playing it, and also I've already made 2 videos recently. If you haven't seen them already, I draw myself and my characters as villagers, and then I draw you guys as villagers from Animal Crossing. I also have some sewing videos where I create characters from the game as ornaments, which are super cute and super fun. Have I plugged my content enough? So stylizing Animal Crossing characters is really interesting for me because these characters are already very exaggerated when it comes to their animal features. And especially with Molly here, she has 2 big black eyes on either side of her head, but I've been a huge fan of putting eyeballs on one side of characters' heads. So say a character is looking to the left and I like to draw both eyeballs on one side of their head. I just think it's really fun. So this was kind of contradictory to her design because she has big eyes on either side of her head. And I think putting these tiny little eyes next to each other on one side of her head kind of got rid of her whole aesthetic. But I think in the end I found a happy medium and she turned out really cute. I was definitely messing around with the placement of her eyeballs for way too long. It definitely took me a while to decide, did I want to leave her eyes on the dark brown part, which is not where they were on her design, or did I want to meet in the middle and have one on the light and one on the dark, which is what I settled with. And there she is. Next up is Present Mike from the anime My Hero Academia. Now, I have tried to watch this anime. Brace yourself, guys, here it comes. I watched the first full season, got into the second season, and it's boring. It's just so generic and so much of it is just too over the top and I just don't like it. And that's fine. That's all I'm going to say. So although I'm not super familiar with this character, I have seen the character in the anime enough to know he exists. So there he is. So at first when I started these 6 drawings, originally I had planned to draw all the characters in full body, but I also kind of wanted to put them into their respective squares, relatively proportionate to each other. So when it came to this character and 1/3 of his height being his hair and his face being extremely silly, I thought, you know what? Let's just focus on this character's face and his hair just filling up that square because it's kind of funny but also very stupid. So that is going to be the focus of this character for me. Sometimes when it comes to anime, you just look at their hair and you think, what is happening and why? That is what I think about this character's hair. And especially when it came to his face, it was just so silly and stupid. It had a silly mouth, which I'm super into drawing, and those creepy, kind of worried yet mischievous eyebrows that are always upturned. Love it. And now that I think about it, is it really fan art if you're not a fan of the thing you're drawing? So is this technically not actually fan art? Did I not actually do the challenge? Uh-oh. Anyways, there's Present Mike. The next character request is SpongeBob, and you guessed it, I don't care for SpongeBob. Honestly, I don't have a problem with SpongeBob. I guess I just never really got into the show, and it's just not my type of humor. It's just a little bit over the top, a little bit LOL random, I guess. How to explain it? I don't know. It is a children's show, and I do enjoy some other cartoons made specifically for children, but I guess I just never got onto the SpongeBob train, which is fine. From what I have seen of it, it does seem very silly. I did recently see it on TV while I was in Japan, and that was really funny to hear their voices in Japanese. SpongeBob's character sounds just like SpongeBob's voice in English, which was really weird. And then it was really interesting to hear Patrick's voice. So in the Western world, because Patrick is kind of a dumb character, his voice is a little bit more on the deeper side. He speaks kind of slow, but I think in Japanese culture, However, stupid characters are more high-pitched and silly, so his voice is so much different in Japanese. It was really silly to hear that. When it comes to the character designs and just general style of SpongeBob, honestly, I'm not really into the style of this cartoon, so I think that's partially why I'm so hesitant to watch any of the show, because I like to look at things that are pretty, and I'm just not really a fan of how this show looks. But I actually had, I think, the most fun drawing SpongeBob out of all of these characters. The bright colors, the crazy shapes, the exaggeration, I think especially the colors I just had a lot of fun with. I think maybe this character design also just invites a lot of changes and freedom when it comes to style. So overall, I was really surprised to see how much fun I had drawing a character that I didn't really care about at all, proving how much character design really is important, even if you are going to change some things. So there's SpongeBob. And for our sixth and final character, this one really took me by surprise because it's just not something I really think about. I guess this challenge probably embraces more cartoon characters more than anything. We have the 13th Doctor from Doctor Who. As usual, I'm not super into Doctor Who. I have watched a few episodes, but I haven't actually given like a whole season a try, but it's just so corny, and I don't know that this sort of sci-fi sort of genre of a show is my thing, but it has been interesting to see just how huge and popular this fan base is. That being said, let's talk about how drawing a character that is based off of a real person went for me. I have mentioned in past videos that I don't really like to draw characters or drawings in general that are trying to represent a real actual person, just because I find myself adding way too many details and bits and bobs and things that I wouldn't normally draw in my art, and it gets to the point where it just starts to have all these extra details and things that I don't want my art to have. I don't know if I'm explaining this right. Basically, if I want a character to look like someone, you have to add extra details that look like that person, and I try to simplify my art, and when you start adding all these little details, it just looks weird. However, with this character, I feel like something about it turned out really nice. I don't know if it was her hair exaggeration, because the way I drew her face is very generic. I could slap that face on any character, but I think her hair and her clothes really brought everything together, and I'm actually really happy with how this turned out. I was really nervous with drawing a real person when the rest of these characters have been cartoons, but I think she turned out really well. I had a lot of fun with her, and that's it. That's our sixth and final character. Going into this challenge, I was really nervous about what you guys were going to suggest, but in the end, we actually got a huge variety of characters. We've got a Disney character, we've got DC Comics, we've got Nintendo, anime, Nickelodeon, and a real life person. So thank you guys so much for joining in. Sorry I couldn't do all of the suggestions, and I'll see you in the next video. Stay golden! Before I go, I do want to give a huge thank you to my patrons for all of their support, especially during these rough times. You guys are seriously amazing, and I really appreciate it. Do you want coloring pages, early access to my videos, mini podcasts, and more? Check out the link to my Patreon in the description. Thank you guys all seriously so much for the support. Stay safe. Bye.